Hi, welcome to Rock and Metal Invasion. My name is Steve. Coming up on the show today, we're doing the Canadian Top 50 Singles Charts from 1988, sort of around late November 1988. And I've got Tim Durling from Tim's Vinyl Confessions here to do it with me. How you going, Tim?
How you doing, Steve? Thanks for having me on. And this is the other half of episode we recorded from my channel where Steve counted down the top 50 songs from the same time in New Zealand. And so, I think there's going to be equal parts. I know that song. I think I know that song. I've never heard of it in my life.
Yeah, could be a bit of that.
Yeah.
Could be a bit for Rock and Metal Invasion subscribers. You might be thinking, it's quite a lot of pop here, not a lot of rock and metal. And yeah, because it's singles charts, but I think you'll still find it interesting. I'm sure there's still going to be some hard rock in there in the charts, because this is late 80s. That sort of sound was still was getting pretty popular. So let's have a look and see what comes up. I don't know. I've been given no heads up about what is on the charts. I have been told there's a few Canadian acts there, so there might be some bands I'm not familiar with, but let's see how we go.
Right on. So for the benefit, being that we're on Rock and Metal Invasion, before I get started with the top 50, I'm going to go through the rest of the chart. So from 100 up to 51, and see if I can find some hard rock and metal, sympathetic songs. So I can see that at number 93, it's Van Halen with "Finish What You Started." Not a heavy song, but it's Van Halen. At number 81 is Vixen with "Edge of a Broken Heart." Number 73 is Poison, "Every Rose Has Its Thorn," going up the chart at this point. Let me see. Okay, moving up the chart at number 65 is Guns N' Roses' "Welcome to the Jungle." And that is about it. So we are looking at November 26, 1988. This is from RPM magazine, which RPM was sort of like Canada's Billboard magazine, the official chart magazine. And they started in 1964 and they ended in the year 2000. So if you go to a website called worldradiohistory.com and look for RPM, you can find not just the charts, but entire back issues. So if you're like me and like going down those sorts of rabbit holes, it's a great time waster.
Yeah.
So let's get started at number 50 this week. Back in 1988, Terence Trent D'Arby with "Dance Little Sister." Now he was huge. This was not his biggest hits. He had "Wishing Well" and then he had "Sign Your Name." I do know this. I do remember "Dance Little Sister" a little bit.
Yeah, no, "Wishing Well" was the big hit, and it's such a distinctive voice. But yeah, I'm not so familiar with that song. Yeah.
So at number 49, first of many Canadian acts in this chart, the band was called Frozen Ghost, and the song is called "Pauper in Paradise." Now, to sort of bring it into an international context, the singer and main songwriter in Frozen Ghost was a guy by the name of Arnold Lanny.
Yeah.
And he was in a band called Sheriff. And Sheriff had a big hit with "When I'm With You," which originally came out in 82, but then got a big boost in actually not too long after this chart, like end of 88 into 89. It became a huge hit all over it, like for the first time, but it was an older song. And he also went on to become a successful producer.
Yeah. Our Lady Peace, I think he did production for.
He produced them. There's another real obvious one that's missing, but yeah, he went on to become very successful as a producer.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen his name as a producer. And Sheriff, that's a good album, actually. That one, I really like that one. But okay. The song you're talking about, "Frozen Ghost." Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that one.
No, "Pauper in Paradise" is not one of they're probably their best known song. If I had to guess, was the very first single they came out with in 86 or 87 called "Should I See." But they were never that big. But yeah. So at number 48, now this is surprising because I vaguely know the song. It wasn't a big hit, but this week it's up from 70 to 48. So it's a big jump. It's Mike and the Mechanics from their album Living Years, but the song is Nobody's Perfect.
Not the one I know about. Yeah.
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 No, I kind of know how it went, but at number 47 were another Canadian artist. His name was Barney Bentall, and he had a band called the Legendary Hearts, and he was kind of a Springsteen, Tom Petty kind of rock guy, and this particular song was called Come Back to Me. It wasn't a big hit for him. Number 46, this was a song that was sort of unusual because, I mean, at the time, he was primarily known as a country artist, but this was a big crossover song at Steve Earle and Copperhead Road.
Oh, yeah, good song. Yeah, yeah. That was popular down here too. Yeah, good song. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like that. I think that was like his worldwide sort of breakthrough song. Number 45 is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young with American Dream.
Well, I mean, I know the artist obviously, but don't know the song.
The song got a little bit of play. It was kind of, it had some political references in it, and but yeah, it didn't go on to become a huge hit. Although it is taking a big jump this week. It went from 74 to 45. So number 44. Now this is a band that you may have heard of. They're one of my favorite Canadian bands. Great melodic rock, sometimes bordering on hard rock. The band is Honeymoon Suite.
Oh, yeah.
So from their album Racing After Midnight, the ballad It's Over Now is at number 44 this week.
Yeah, great band. The Big Prize, that's my go-to Honeymoon Suite.
That's the one.
Yeah, like that's almost pretty much a perfect album for me. That's just from start to finish fantastic. I thought it's funny because the next album I like, but I don't like it as much. Yet they're really embracing their hair metal look even more, aren't they? On this album that you're talking. But I don't actually like that album as much. It's good, but Big Prize is it's amazing.
Yeah, if you know, Big Prize to me is a 10, but Racing After Midnight's knocking on its door. Like to me, those are both really good. But
yeah. I mean, and then the one after that's good as well. And I know that you've done some episodes on them. And
I'm a huge Honeymoon Suite fan. I'm really, it's really cool that you know, because I mean, some people know who they are around the world, some people don't. So and this particular album was produced by Ted Templeman. So I mean, Warner Brothers they obviously thought there was a lot of potential here, but anyway.
Yeah, and they had Lethal Weapon soundtrack song, and yeah.
So at number 43, Pet Shop Boys with Domino Dancing. Now this did not go on to become one of their biggest hits. I do know the song, but
well, I think that came up on the New Zealand chart. We were just when we were talking through the New Zealand chart, and it wasn't familiar to me then. But yeah.
Now this is odd. Number 42. I certainly know the artist, and this time period is when he was starting to get bigger, but I don't know the song. The artist is Michael Bolton, and the song is called Walk Away. It's up 1 this week to number 42. It's from his album The Hunger. Now I know this was his first album to kind of make a dent, because I mean his first couple of albums in the 80s were actually kind of rocking, especially the song Everybody's Crazy, which Bruce Kulick is on. Like, people like, did he just say a Michael Bolton song was rocking? Go listen to Everybody's Crazy by Michael Bolton. You might be surprised.
Love that album. Love it. And his debut solo album's almost as good. Yeah. It's if you like that sort of Bon Jovi kind of hard rock sort of sound, that's totally what it was. It was really good. And he's a great songwriter. He's written, for other artists as well. So he knows how to write good songs. It's just, he's with The Hunger, he's starting to soften his sound a lot more. There's a song on that album called Gina, which is really good, and that's quite a hard rocking song. But that's about the only one. So I've got the album just for that one song, pretty much. But so I mean, I must have heard that song "Walk Away," but it would be probably a forgettable one because it's probably pretty mellow.
Yeah. The interesting thing is I didn't think there were any other singles, because I know he had "That's What Love Is All About" was like a hit, and then he had his version of "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay."
Yeah, yeah.
But
That
the
was
songs
a
that
bit
I
of a
know
hit.
from him came after that. But
Mm,
also the title "Walk Away" has been used a lot, so it's
yeah,
not likely to clue in. So
yeah.
at number 41, it's the Bangles with "In Your Room."
Right.
Yeah.
There are a couple of Bengal songs I like, especially the Hazy Shade of what's the
"Hazy Shade of Winter." Yeah, they did a good version of that from
that
Less
they
Than
did a
Zero.
cool version of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, don't know that one.
At number 40, now this guy, I know who he is. He's kind of more known as a songwriter, but John Hyatt, and the song is called "Slow Turning."
No, I
Um,
mean, no.
I know he's written songs for Bonnie Raitt and other artists. I know that a big song that he wrote, I don't know how big it was around the world, but it was certainly big in Canada, that Jeff Healey, he wrote the song "Angel Eyes."
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, he's like a songwriter's, if you look up
Yeah,
the song, he's written for a lot of people, right? And
yeah,
he's also put out a lot of albums, but he's not that well known. I don't think. I know he's one of those cult following type of
yeah,
artists, right?
yeah,
At number 39, this is a minor hit for Glenn Fry. The song was called "True Love." It's real R&B. I remember it, but I don't remember hearing it much after this period.
yeah.
So
No.
at number 38, now this is interesting because this was a medley of two like classic rock songs from the 70s that were kind of put together in a real pop context. It was a duo. I can't remember if they were husband and wife or what, but they were called Will to Power. And the song or the medley is "Baby I Love Your Way" / "Freebird." So it's "Baby
Oh,
I Love Your Way" by Peter Frampton with "Freebird" by Leonard Skinner. And it's the most bizarre thing when you hear it now. But it was actually the first time I had heard either of those songs was on this particular medley. It's number 38 this week. I think it went to the top 10, but yeah, it's kind of if you didn't hear it at the time and you hear it now, you go, who's singing those songs? So number 37, it's Robert Palmer with "Early in the Morning."
no, don't know about that one.
No.
No.
So Robert Palmer, I mean, he had bigger hits like "Addicted to Love" and
Yeah,
"Simply
that's the one.
Irresistible."
Yeah.
But this particular song I remember, and I think it's actually a cover of a song by the Gap Band. So it's like an R&B song that he kind of redid. But I don't think it would go on to be a very big hit. The next one I vaguely remember, and the only reason I remembered is because I grew up watching Much Music, which was our video channel here in Canada. It was a group called Roman Gray, and the song's called "Shangri-La," but I really don't remember it that well. And I don't think that they got any kind of, I don't even think they were that big in Canada. So I really don't think they were big anywhere else.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but I can vaguely remember it. And I can usually, like from this time period, I was following,
Yeah.
the chart. Even if I wasn't into all the music, I still wanted to know what was popular, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so this is more like it. At number 35, it's on its way down. Def Leppard and "Love Bites."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
One
Yeah.
of the huge many hit singles from Hysteria.
Yeah, but I
Number
mean,
34.
probably
Oh,
that Love Bites, that would have been after maybe Pour Some Sugar on Me. Was
it
that?
was the very next single after
Yeah,
"Pour Some Sugar on Me."
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think here
Um,
in New Zealand, it was Pour Some Sugar on Me that really got that album going. Because
yeah. That was, I think that certainly it was the case in North America. And it was the song that got me hooked on them.
yeah, because
So,
Animal didn't really do much, So then that was the first single here, but yeah.
so number 34. This is an artist I like. I like the band he was in. I'm not the biggest fan of the song, but the artist name was Miles Goodwin. He was the lead singer of a band called April Wine, which
Oh, yeah.
you may have heard of.
Yeah.
This song was called My Girl. It was a ballad. It was actually written by a guy named Jeff Paris. I don't know if you recognize that name.
Yeah.
So Jeff Paris is written with Y&T. He's written he wrote the song Crying, that was a hit for Vixen.
Yeah.
He wrote a great song on Mr. Big's Lean Into It album called Lucky This Time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a well-traveled song.
Yeah.
He wrote this particular song that Miles Goodwin did. Number 33, I kind of vaguely remember the song, but I didn't think it was a top 40 hit. Chris de Burgh with Missing You.
I know John
Chris
Waite
de Burgh,
singing.
best known probably for The Lady in Red, you know.
Yeah.
Number 32, they had two big hits around this time. Erasure with Chains of Love.
I know the band, but that wasn't really my kind of thing, eh? Yeah.
No, me neither. But you know, when I listen, I got to be honest. When I listen to pop, what passes as popular music now, and then I hear stuff that I didn't like from back then, I'm like, that really wasn't that bad when you listen to it. But anyway,
yeah.
At number 31,
I mean, the charts now are like they just have no meaning now, eh? Like compared to how they. Well, to me, maybe it's just me, but like I don't know.
I think it might be an age thing, but when I hear about songs that are pop, I'm like, I don't even know who that is. I don't even know what that is. Like, how do you say the names? The names are just letters, you know. I'm not. At a certain point, I realized a long time ago, I'm no longer the target market for pop music.
No, that's right. That's
right. It just so happened that around this time, a lot of the bands that I liked were making music that everybody liked, or lots of people liked.
Yeah.
So number 31, Rod Stewart with Forever Young. I think that was a pretty big hit in most parts of the world.
Yeah.
So now we're actually coming up on a Canadian artist that I've never heard of, which is surprising. Number 30, it's down from 22. The band was called Big Bang, and the song was called Into the Night. Well, that song title's been used a million times, so that doesn't help me. So I don't imagine you'll be able to assist me.
Big Bang. No.
And that's the other thing too. There could be bands, or there could be 2 or 3 bands worldwide with the same name. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Number 29, I vaguely remember this group, or I vaguely remember the song more likely. Giant Steps was the name of the group. The song was called Another Lover. I kind of remember this, but just barely.
I think that could be one of those ones. If I heard the song, I might maybe go, because Another Lover. That something's.
The chorus is the world don't need another lover. Now it's got you. Now it's got me. Like, it's very pop, but
yeah.
Number 28. Again,
it could be another. That could be another song by another band.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Number 28. I think this guy actually charted more songs in Canada than he did in the U.S. I know he's very popular in Australia and New Zealand. John Farnham with Age of Reason.
Yeah.
He's up to 4 notches to 28 this week.
It's interesting to hear that. Yeah, he had popularity over in Canada. I thought maybe it was more just Australia, New Zealand kind of thing, but yeah, so he crossed over there pretty well.
You're the Voice was a huge song over here.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it was in the States, but it was in Canada. I remember hearing that all.
Oh, it's huge, yeah.
Number 27, I know the artist, but I don't know the song. Sade with Nothing Can Come Between Us. I do not know that. I don't recognize that song title at all.
Yeah.
Interesting. Number 26, Steve Winwood, Don't You Know What the Night Can Do?
Well, I know
this would have been from his Roll With It album.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 25. Now, I remember when this came out, everybody said, oh, they're just a bunch of old guys. They're all old. And now I think I'm older than every one of them at this point. The Traveling Wilburys with Handle with Care. So you had Bob Dylan and George Harrison and Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, and Tom Petty. And Tom Petty was like the baby of the group, right?
Yeah.
And that first album of theirs actually did really, really well. Like, it was kind of surprising how well it did. And that sound kind of became the Tom Petty sound from that album forward.
Yeah.
Number 24. I know this song, Information Society, What's on Your Mind. It was very dancey, very pop. I don't know how popular it was around the world, but what I remember about it is that it sampled a little bit of Leonard Nimoy from the original Star Trek, just saying pure energy. And that was like one of the hooks of the song. Yeah. At number 23, we've talked about this song, Duran Duran, I Don't Want Your Love. It was a bigger hit than you might think it was, because it's not one that immediately comes to mind when you think of their catalog. But at this particular week, it's up 36 up to 23. So it was, doing pretty good at this point.
Yeah. And like we talked about on your channel, that it was probably their last hit for a little while, and then they make a bit of a comeback again in the sort of early 90s.
Yeah. But at number 22, now this is an artist. He had a couple really big hits. I don't know if they were hits all around the world, but Corey Hart. He had Sunglasses at Night, and he had Never Surrender. Those were two big songs now. And he had a lot of other minor hits in Canada because he is Canadian. And his song Spot You in a Coal Mine is at number 22 this week. Now, I know the song, but I think that's just because I grew up here in Canada. I don't think it was a hit anywhere else.
Yeah. No, I love that Sunglasses at Night song. I remember, like, when I was just starting to get into music, listening to music, and I guess when the Sunglasses came out, I was probably only like about 11 years old or something. But
it was around 84.
Yeah. I thought that was a great song.
Oh yeah, pretty irresistible, right? Yeah. Number 21. He passed away a few years ago. I always liked this guy's voice, Eddie Money, with Walk on Water.
Yeah, he's good, eh? Yeah, no, I like him. I don't know that song necessarily, but I mean, I might know it if I heard it. But yeah, he's got some good songs.
Yeah. Number 20, I'm pretty sure you've never heard of this group. They're a Canadian duo. There was a girl and a guy. They were called 1 to 1, and the song's called Hold Me Now, not to be confused with the Thompson Twins. I don't think they were very big outside of Canada, and they only had like a couple hits in Canada. At number 19, I vaguely remember the song Anita Baker, Giving You the Best That I Got. I guess that was a hit in New Zealand too. So that wouldn't have been one that I would have thought would have charted all over the world, but who knows? Number 18. This is we're gonna have actually a couple of songs from the movie Cocktail from the soundtrack. At number 18 is John Mellencamp with his cover of Buddy Holly's Rave On, which I didn't know charted anywhere, but I guess it did.
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I didn't know it was a chart single. Number 17, up from 23, band that had a lot of hits throughout the 80s. I think they were kind of winding down, their hit making period. Huey Lewis and the News with Small World.
Yeah, I don't know that one, but yeah, they had heaps of hits in the 80s or mid 80s anyway. Yeah.
Number 16, this was another husband and wife duo, Boy Meets Girl. I can't remember their names, but they were also songwriters. And this song, Waiting for a Star to Fall, was their big single on their own. It was actually, they actually also wrote the song How Will I Know that Whitney Houston did. And when you hear the songs together, you can kind of say, oh yeah, I get it. I hear the similarities. So there you go.
Yeah, actually, that's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me, that song. I quite like that one. Yeah, I quite like that song.
It's catchy. I mean, it's catchy. It's there's a reason it's called pop. It's,
yeah, but it's just it's good pop, like pop. It's just like whatever. But
it's well written. It's well sung. Yeah, it's so number 15. Now this was a big song in Canada. I don't know how big it did around the world. You may have heard of this guy. He had a band, but Tom Cochrane and Red Ryder.
Oh yeah.
So his best known song was "Life Is a Highway." That was the big,
his
big break.
It was huge, massive. It was number 1, I think. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, number 1, and like for a long time, it was just like and it's one of those songs that was played so much you got sick of it after a
Sick
while.
of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So this week, number 15, he had a song called Big League, which was really, really popular in Canada. And, Canada being a big, hockey being our national sport, it was about, it had a hockey theme to it. And anyway, that's at number 15 this week. Number
Tom
14.
Cochrane here was the song. He was like a one-hit wonder, literally. Like, Life is a Highway, and then never
really the same. Really the same in the United States too. In Canada, Tom Cochrane was sort of like our Springsteen. You know what I mean? Like
exactly,
that sort of.
Sure.
Number 14. Don't Worry, Be Happy, Bobby McFerrin. Enough said.
Yeah. Go watch. Go watch the episode we did on Tim's channel. We talked about that song enough. Yeah.
Talk about a song you never hear again. Anyway.
Yeah.
So at number 13, this was not a comeback song, but it was a big song for them. It ended up being like the last number 1 song they had. And Chicago with Look Away, which was a big power ballad. I believe it was written by Diane Warren. It would go on to become a number 1 song. And it was more, I guess you could say it was more of a rock ballad than maybe most of their stuff at that time. But anyway, that's at 13 this week.
Yeah, I mean they had a couple of songs I didn't mind in the 80s. I don't remember that one because there was always that potential for them to do a sort of power ballad type song that I might like, but not all.
You might remember this one if you heard it. Now this is after Peter Cetera had left, and I'm trying to think of the guy's name that sang. He was their guitar player, so it's a different voice. But anyway, at number 12 this week, this was a big group in Canada. They had quite a few hit singles. Their best known song worldwide was Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. So the band was called Glass Tiger. I don't know if they made any impact your way, but they have a song called My Song that's at number 12 this week.
Yeah, Glass Tiger. Did they do a duet with Rod Stewart, or am I thinking of?
They did. Actually, that one was called My Town.
That was a bit of a hit, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was in 91, so that was on their next album. But yeah, that got them some notoriety for sure.
Yeah.
They had 2 big hits in the States. It was Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone, and a song called Someday. They're very pop rock, like they weren't hard rock in the least, but they had connections with Jim Valance and Bryan Adams, and like they were a big band for
I've got this one. Go. Yeah,
that was a little more of a rocking album for them, right? I think that Animal Heart, that was kind of a rocking song.
Yeah.
I've never seen that on vinyl before, actually.
Yeah, Animal Heart's a good song, and Blinded's a good song. There's sort of heavier songs on the album. It says here on tour with Roxette, but
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that album was released in the US, to be quite honest with you.
It's got Jim Valance producing. It probably does some songwriting as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so at a number 11, this is the song that we talked about. Whitney Houston, One Moment in Time. Now, Whitney Houston was one of the biggest singers on the planet at this particular time, but this song didn't come from one of her albums. It was from the Summer Olympics tribute album.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's called One Moment in Time. Not a very memorable song, I would say. Number 10, band having their biggest year, I would say worldwide, In Excess, Never Tear Us Apart. This down from 7 to 10 this week. In Excess are a band. They were better. They hit in Canada before they hit in the States. Much Music always played their videos, even as far back as like the swing period in those videos. So yeah, the US took a little bit longer to catch on. Number 9, this is a song that I forget that he had, but it was a pretty big hit because he had so many singles from this album. George Michael with Kissing a Fool. This is kind of a slower R&B, kind of an R&B blues type of song, maybe. But anyway, it's at number 9. Number 8, just jumping into the top 10, up from 11, Bon Jovi, Bad Medicine. This was New Jersey's my favorite Bon Jovi album. As much as I love Slippery When Wet, and as much as I loved the first 2 albums, to me, this one has just gone on to become the one that I just go back to
Right.
the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously they were big, all over the world and continue to be. Number 7, Kylie Minogue with her version of The Locomotion. This was her big worldwide breakthrough song. Although it was a big gap before she hit big again in North America. Whereas I think in most parts of the world, she had a ton of hit singles throughout the 90s. So,
but I remember even when that song came out, people were like, it was a bit, people were kind of like, I can't believe this is popular, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it was the third time around for a hit for this song, because the original version of the 60s was Little Eva, I believe. And then Grand Funk Railroad did a version of it in the 70s. Yeah. So, number 6, this is a song that I remember, but I'd kind of forgotten about. Elton John with A Word in Spanish. Not one of his staple songs for sure, but I mean, it's Elton John, so it's in the top 10, right?
Wow. Okay, yeah.
Number 5, the other song from the Cocktail soundtrack, The Beach Boys and Kokomo.
Yeah.
This was a number 1 song. It was their last number 1 song, but they kind of went out with a bang because it was like their last big single and it went all the way to the top.
Yeah.
So, number 4, this one's up from 8. We talked about this group too, Breathe, with How Can I Fall. They were a UK group, very, very mellow. Like when I think of the band Breathe, I always think of the band Johnny Hates Jazz.
Right.
Very similar
yeah
types of bands. Yeah. And they both kind of hit around the same time too. Yeah, I think we're in pretty familiar territory now. Number 3, Phil Collins, Groovy Kind of Love, was originally done in the 60s by a group called, I think, the Mindbenders, and it was like kind of upbeat and faster, and he turned it into a really slow ballad and had this huge hit with it. Yeah. Number 2, Escape Club, Wild Wild West. This was a big song.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't mind it. It's a good song. Pretty catchy. Yeah.
Catchy. Had a little guitar in it.
Yeah, it did.
For a pop song.
It did. It did. Yeah.
And the number 1 song this week in Canada was U2 and Desire from Rattle and Hum. So there you go. Like, that was the top 50 songs. A few you were kind of questionable on, but yeah, a lot of the Canadian artists, I was impressed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, it's, able to pull out my glass tiger. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Extra points for the honeymoon suite too. I was happy to hear that.
Yes, yeah, no. Well, actually, there's heaps of great Canadian bands, hard rock bands, especially especially from the 80s. But yeah, I mean, it's pop. There's probably a lot of stuff on there that when it came out, I would have just ignored, but because it wasn't my thing so much. But definitely I was still following the charts then, and it was always interesting, even if it wasn't like a song you liked. It's like, oh really, that's number 1, or and then likewise, bands like Bon Jovi and Poison and Europe and Def Leppard. I wonder if they're going to go further up the charts and how they're going to go this week. And it was still interesting to follow. Well, thanks for coming on, Tim, and giving me a bit of information about the Canadian singles charts, and just to talk about the songs that came out 35 years ago.
Which is pretty crazy. I can't believe, that can't be right. 35 years ago, 1988, that was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, time flies. All right, well, bit of a different show this week, but I've enjoyed doing it. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Hit that like button, subscribe. Let us know if you are familiar with any of those songs, what your memories of maybe some of those songs are. And we'll catch you later with another show some other time. All right, see ya.